So was this when Grandpa was falling trees?
Huh?
Was he falling trees? Was that the work?
Yeah.
And so they were trying to unionize the loggers?
They were what?
Were they trying to, the union came into the loggers?
I don't know.
Was he logging? You don't remember what he was doing at the time? You just remember the conversation where the union was trying to come in. That's all you remember.
He was a loyal worker, but that didn't mean that he stood around on street corners and talked to people about what the company he worked for did or didn't do. That wasn't who he was at all, not at all. You would never find out anything about him like that. If you didn't know him on a one-to-one, you weren't ever going to know him. Because he wasn't going to sit down and explain it to you, that was for sure.
So then basically, if obviously he came home, he talked to Granny about the union stuff,
Yeah.
but his take on that was he just wanted to keep his head down, he wanted to keep his job, he didn't want to fight for anything or stand up and be a voice for anything. He just wanted to be left alone and go about his business. Is that it?
Yeah. If they asked him a question that he didn't want to answer, he'd say, "Oh, hell, I don't know." That was the end of the subject. You weren't going to get an answer from him.
So even if his co-workers tried to talk him into being supportive one way or another, he didn't want any part of it.
No. He was a very alone person in one sense of the word.
Mm-hmm.
He had his own ideas, his own opinions, and nobody was going to change it. He didn't just stand up and tell it to him like that. He sure didn't. Just, if they asked him something that he didn't want to talk about, he'd say, "Oh, hell, I don't know, go ask somebody else." That was his answer. And if that didn't satisfy you, that's tough luck. That's all you're ever going to get from him.
Do you remember what year he was born?
No, I don't. I know his birthday was at Thanksgiving time, but I don't know what year that he was born.
That's right. I remember that. Sometimes Granny would have a cake for him.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
I probably have it somewhere in all of my junk.
Yeah.
You go through 19 boxes to find it.
So you were born in what year again?
Huh?
You were born in what year again?
Yeah.
No, what year were you born? 19... What did you say? 1920...
I was born 1924.
24. Okay, and was Granny and Grandpa young? Were they young parents?
Huh?
Were Granny and Grandpa young parents when they had you kids?
I wouldn't say they were extremely young, no. They were adults.
Okay, so they didn't get married when they were 16. You don't think they got married when they were 16 or
No.
17 or...
They were married for about 3 years before I was born.
So you were the oldest? Were you the oldest?
Yeah.
So then maybe they were born maybe around 1900?
I don't know.
Okay.
I used to know when Mama was born, but I didn't let that
Yeah.
escape me.
Yeah.
What was the point in not knowing when she was born, after all? I'm lucky to keep up with when I was born.
So that was Effie, and what was his name? What was your dad's name?
Lawson.
Lawson. I keep wanting to say Lawton. So Lawson.
Actually, his first name was William, but he hated William for a name, so he went by his second name of Lawson. He was William Lawson.
Okay, that's good to know. So he was William Lawson Eves.
Yeah.
And then you said that Granny gave herself a middle name?
She what?
Did Granny give herself a middle name? Or did she have a middle name? We were talking about that yesterday.
She was born a Crawford, and she married him
She was Effie Crawford.
and she became an Eves, and that was that. So
Okay.
there was never any controversy about any of that.
The families were okay,
Right.
right? The millions of dollars would go ahead and transfer.
No, all of it was, I don't know, easy.
Yeah.
There was nothing difficult about any of it.
Do you know where they got married? What state they got married in? Do you
They
remember?
were married in Arkansas.
They were married in Arkansas.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
When they were married, I don't know.
Do you know what city in Arkansas they were married?
It wasn't a city, it was in a church.
In a church, and do you know what town? Do you remember the town they got
It was
married
just
in?
where they went to church.
Okay.
There wasn't any big deal about any. No, I'm telling that wrong. That isn't true.
Yeah?
They were married at the judge's house because I remember now, Mama told me that they were in this, it was like a wagon, but it was a fancy riding thing that the horses pulled, the buggy, that's what it was called.
Okay.
So they were married in the buggy. They did not get out of the buggy. They sat there in the buggy, and the judge stood in front of it and married them. So they were not married in a church or in anything else legal.
They got married in a buggy
Uh-huh.
by a local pastor?
By
Local judge?
whoever was the pastor.
Okay. Okay.
I can't. It's rather amusing to think about it.
Well, it's fascinating because we can easily forget how really far we've come in society and in this world with all of the modern conveniences that we have. And it was just 100 years ago that not everybody had a car. It really wasn't that long ago.
No.
I mean, we've gone from horse-drawn carriages to today in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
And so it's easy to forget that at the time that they were getting married, hardly anybody had a car. If only the rich people had a car,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
I mean, this wasn't even the flapper eras yet. That this was not the, taking off the bustles or, and these were just before the times of putting on, the straight dresses without all those slips, and being a lot more progressive with dressing, a more sleek dress, and this was before that. Right? This was before the 30s. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Mama remembered all the details of things like that.
Yeah.
But after she was gone, I had never written any of it down. So there's really no written thing of it.
Yeah.
It always pleased me that they married and that they were well married. That they were It wasn't a case of had to or want to. It was a case of we're in love and this is what you do. So that's what they did. They got
Nice.
married.
Nice.
But I didn't come along until about 4 years later. They did a lot of things in that period of time between when they first married and and when I was born.
Wow.
They even moved to a different state because they moved to Oklahoma from Arkansas. And back in those days, not many people moved, period. If you moved from one county to another, it was unusual.
Right. Right.
But there was a lot of different things that happened during that time. There was one that is a mystery that is still attached to me, that always will be, because I don't know for sure. There was a time in Arkansas when they were married, after they were married, that Mama's old girlfriend lived close to them, and that they, it was when I was born. I was a baby, and they lived next to these people that had a little boy baby that was, let's see, his birthday was in April and mine was in October. So he was from April to October older.
Bless you.
Excuse me.
Bless
I
you.
almost didn't make it. But in this life, it was a strange thing because he had no visible parents. He lived with his aunt, and when he was, I don't know, I think he and I were both, he was born in April, I was born in October. By the next spring around, they had all separated and moved somewhere else. So he didn't live there anymore. We lived in Arkansas, and I don't know where. I think he lived in Arkansas too, but it was in a different place in Arkansas. So I don't know if that was part of a mystery that I don't know all about, and I never can know all about. His name was Jimmy, and we didn't meet again until we moved up on Terrace, and I think I had my 15th birthday up there, 14th or 15th birthday, and he was just older than I am. And I said something to Mom about, I said that boy next door is having a birthday. She said, yeah, but he's just a little bit older than you are. And I said, how do you know? She said, I've known him since the day he was born. And that was the first I knew that how close Jimmy was mixed up in my life. It became very mixed up, very complicated, and very hurtful before it all finally settled down. That was a case I still feel like that adults messed up when if they had left it alone, it would have worked itself out the way it should have. But they meddled in it, they fiddled around in it, and they messed it up, and they finally messed it up where there wasn't any way you could fix it. And I know that sounds crazy, but It's part of what has made my life so hard is what they did. They should have left well enough alone. They should not have meddled in something like that.
Did Jimmy?
Jimmy and I would have met as we did, and we would have fallen in love, and we would have married, and life would have been fine. They did not do that. They kept messing around in it and messing in it until they made such a complicated mess out of it, nobody could ever straighten it out.
Did you like Jimmy?
Huh?
Did you like Jimmy in that way?
I love Jimmy.
So were you a teenager? You were both teenagers?
Huh?
Were you both teenagers?
Yeah, we were. We were both smart and smart alecks. I know deep in my heart that we probably were related by blood, that we were actually kinfolks.
I was going to ask you that.
Uh-huh.
I was going to ask you that. Do you think that maybe he was your half brother?
I think we both feared it so much until we would stay away from each other when we didn't want to stay away from each other, because we didn't want to get mixed up in something that was that far out, to put it bluntly.
Did you both suspect that?
Yep. So, actually, in a way, they messed up our lives from the day it began.
So did Jimmy end up moving away?
Huh?
Did Jimmy end up moving away?
Yeah, he married. Uh-huh.
He married, but did he not move away? He just married someone else?
He married, they had 4 children, and he owned a radio station and part of a TV station.
Wow.
It was very strange because he knew I loved him. I knew he loved me, but we couldn't do anything about it. It was like both hands are tied. You can't do anything about it. So we never did. He died, and that was that.
So when you say that they messed with you guys, when they things got complicated, when things got complicated, was it because they were telling you not to see him?
Oh no, they never ever said anything like that. No.
No. So what made it a mess? What made it complicated and messy?
He married somebody else. I was married to somebody else. That made it complicated. Every time we saw each other, it was just like that. We would try to stay away from each other as much as we could, and we both worked at it. Finally, he died, and that ended it. I've always felt like they took 2 people that could have loved each other and been happy, and they destroyed the whole thing.
Well, who's they?
Huh?
Who is they?
My relatives and his relatives.
So why were they against you?
Huh?
Why were they against you guys?
Yeah,
Why? Why didn't they like it?
I don't know. I don't know. I've given up thinking about it a long time ago, because there's nothing you can do about it. It's all over. It's done. But there never was 2 people that had as much fun in a shorter length of time as he and I could. I might meet him as he was coming to the car to go to the station to where he worked. I might meet him as I was going to school. We would smile and we would laugh and we would wave at each other, and that was it. We kept things under control, always. There was never a moment when, well, I won't say there wasn't a moment, there was a moment when I thought we were going to cross the line, but we didn't. Neither one of us did. It's the only thing in my life that I can actually be proud of that I'm ashamed of, and that's the truth.
Do you remember his last name?
Oh, yeah.
What was his last name?
Let's see, Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
And who did he marry? Do you remember her name? Do you remember the name of the woman he married?
Oh, yeah, she was, let's see, what was her name? Can't remember off the top of my head. And yet she lived next door to me, and we were together every day for 2 years. We sewed together, we went grocery shopping together, we did a lot of things together.
And this is after you married Grandpa?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Do you want to say hi to Lonnie and Stephanie and the kids? Just say hi. And Lonnie will be here tomorrow, remember?
Oh,
Yep. And here you're slurping up the last of your orange juice. Okay? Say, see you soon.